Who do you think of when you consider how when someone's feeling some kind of overwhelm, increased pressure, might be new pressure, some kind of new pain, whether it's stress or grieving or it's physical and chronic, like I what who do you think of? And what is it like when you hear them say something like, "I'm not ready for this?"
I love the question, and I'm going to ground it in my own life experience. I have a background in education and in imaginative education, project-based learning, and a lot of my passion is in language and teaching language acquisition. And the thing that I love about language acquisition and also am challenged by is that it's a somatic experience. And when there is so much language stimulus going on, and the person who is trying to understand a language is being thrown this stimulus, there is a feeling of, okay, nope, I can't do this. I can't do this. What I learned last week, I can't apply. This accent, I don't understand. The way that I heard it was different. And there's this, as the teacher and as a learner myself, it's this real in the body overwhelm. And I think of my students and I think of anyone who is trying really hard to implement something that they think they know and they want to know, and being unable to by the simple overwhelm of trying to prove something and trying to really show up for themselves and demonstrate learning. And yeah, that's what I think of.
What a wonderful thought, actually numerous thoughts, and as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about how those several thoughts you share each are additional layers of pressure,
Yeah,
la layers
that are
of more.
linked.
Yeah, yeah, they're all linked.
And the what you notice and what I notice, and I'm just going to, it's the sort of thing that we have to kind of leverage in that moment is, one, the acceptance of the overwhelm, and two, the overwriting and writing, like W-R-I-G, no, W-R-I-T-I-N-G writing, the overwriting in our brain to say, wait a sec, we need to write a new storyline here about what is possible, because my brain is actually telling me it's not. But if I sit here with this uncomfortableness, with this actual pain, and hold it, I can actually be with it and move forward.
So just as we know that the level of pain must be matched by the level of intentionality, one of the first and best things to do is to hit the pause button, to
Yes.
be so intentional that you hit the brakes.
Yeah, and that has repercussions too, right? When you hit the brakes, sometimes you get whiplash, and sometimes you have to realize, whoa, 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 whoa. But it avoids a future, you'd rather hit the brakes, right, than know you're going to crash. So it's a necessary process.
You have me thinking about, and even as I think about that question, who do you think of when you think of someone who's dealing with some kind of especially new and overwhelming pressure and pain, and they think, and they might even say in one way or another, I'm not ready for this. One of the things that always emerges, and I've experienced this many times, is that there is the shaking of the sense of self.
Mm.
Who am I in this? And I found, and actually, when I was actually asked to create the Plan to Be Your Best program for the annual management and leadership conference for the Federal Home Loan Banks about 13 years ago, they basically were saying we're experiencing something we've never experienced before. Who are we in this?
Yeah.
Help us show, help us realize who we are and how to lead ourselves and our teams through this. And have you heard that in different ways? Who am I in this?
Yeah, yeah, totally. Because, our identity and how we understand ourselves is based off of the experiences that we have and the stories that we keep about those experiences, right? And so if, the experience we have of ourselves is that we're, pretty good at hockey, and then we play hockey and we're not good at all, that shakes our identity. So if we have this idea that, we're pretty good with handling X, Y, or Z, and then when it happens, we feel like we can't do it, that's actually the most normal part. And that's the indication, right?
It's normal. It is fully human.
That. And it's vulnerable to say that and to feel that. And it's also the same thing we feel when we learn to walk and when we learn to crawl and when we plunge ourselves into the world. I mean, it is human. It is what we do. We get vulnerable enough to take the next step, and it is not easy.
It's not. And this is one of the reasons why the prepare path of intentionality is at the very beginning. It's the first step. For those
And
of
that's
you,
what I love about Plan to Be Your Best. It is an actual system with steps, and this step's the anchor point. It says it all. So would you explain just a little bit in case there's anybody who hasn't had the chance to deep dive into what Plan to Be Your Best is, a little brief overview?
perfect. And let me take this chance as well to say, Nicki Mollet, thank you so much for being here. For those of you who are watching, whether you're live with us, and we're here to answer questions and see your comments, and you'll be participating in this.
Mm-hmm.
It will be a positive and encouraging conversation based on Plan to Be Your Best as you navigate pain. That's the title of the book. I'm getting close to finishing the first manuscript. And basically it's all about Plan to Be Your Best. It's about how to face going through whatever is a new and perhaps even profoundly overwhelming pressure, whatever the source of pain, and identify your own unique resilience and set yourself on a path to perpetually grow your resilience to the point where you're whole, you're steady, so much so that you can actually take your unique experience and what you get out of Plan to Be Your Best and do the same for the people who mean the most to you. It is not just for you, but it has a way of, and the hope of multiplying, because
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the multiplier effect, I love how you bring that into our conversations, because I think that's where you really, you really encourage me to get grounded, specifically in the essence of prepare. Because I know that if I can do this within myself, then I can show up for my community and model this behavior. And I also know that humans learn from modeling one another. So I feel so honored to be able to have you as somebody I can model this with and learn from. And yeah, I would appreciate and love for you to let me know a little bit more about what it means to show up to this step, prepare, and how to be with it and be in it and move through it.
Oh, perfect. And you're reminding me of last week's conversation. One of the things I saw you do, one particular example or story that you shared, was how not only are you resilient and perpetually strengthening your resilience, but when you share that with others, model it, and you encourage others, that it flowed right back to you. The beauty of neuroplasticity, and further
Yes.
lifted you up for your own resilience. That's one of the reasons why it's actually part of my pain management, dealing with pain now since the seventh surgery on my left knee and having the knee left in a state of trauma. The more I do to encourage others to model what it looks like for me to be my best with my resilience and thrive with it, to keep getting up after getting knocked down, which I do almost every day. It lowers my cortisol level when I see something positive. For example, the wonderful person who left a comment in the middle of the night last night, talking about how she's learning to deal with this overwhelming pain and all that comes with it. And that was such a wonderful way for her to start her comment. I am learning. And in
Yeah.
fact, what we're going to do now is talk about I am statements and
Mm.
what it means to actually start with prepare and what we can learn from this. It's the first of the 8 paths of intentionality. Every path, like prepare, is a place to go to, like it's a deep, refreshing well, a source of wisdom, a source of energy, a force of ways to find your way through navigating whatever is full of pressure and overwhelming, and to keep going back to it. But we start here because what I've found between the research that I've done, talking to people, and as I care for leaders or whoever's carrying heavy weight that no one else sees, is that there's the place to begin is with what pain has a awful way of doing, and it's shaking the sense of self. And just curious, Nikki, who comes to mind, or how might you relate to that? The way pain or any overwhelming pressure shakes the sense of self.
Yeah, the it's just the normal response that if I have pain, something is wrong. And there, if something is wrong, then I am wrong, right? It's just in the way we internalize, right? The I have pain, something is wrong, I am wrong. Boom. And that's the when I think I am wrong, it doesn't matter if my sense of self is based on whatever my sense of self is based on. If I'm having pain of any sort, me being me is just now wrong. And so it'll come out, at my relationships, or it could come out with my behavior or with the way I'm driving my car. There's all sorts of repercussions of what happens when I let my identity, or when I don't recognize that my identity is taking a hit, and those I am statements turn to I am failing in one way or another, or I am wrong, I am because of my pain. And so that's, I think, that neuroplasticity that you're talking to, that is so important, that when I hear this, so I think of myself, but I also think of my clients, I think of my students, I think of humanity in moments of not feeling prepared enough to handle what life gives. And that's a horrifying feeling. And so, yeah, I imagine all of us in that.
It's full of feelings. And what you just described is how it's a whole person experience.
Mm,
It can, just as we were sharing, it can affect how you communicate, how you relate to others. If we look at each of the 8 dimensions of life, the intellectual, the emotional, the social, such as you just mentioned, and so forth, if the pressure or pain is so great that it has a whole person effect, I found that the place to begin is with shifting to you, shifting to me. For example, there was one particular person, and this happens in virtually every group that I lead through a Plan to Be Your Best program or speak to. Someone is there who says basically this. There's one particular exercise, 25 people were there in this particular situation, and we went around the room, everyone saying their answer to the question, what is your identity? And we got around to about the 20th person, a woman who was sitting there, and she was sitting there differently than everyone else.
hmm,
She was, and she actually boldly said, "I don't know what my identity is."
hmm,
I heard this through a lot through COVID. People so
hmm,
under pressure, so now dealing with situations they've never experienced before, coming right out and saying, "I don't know who I am anymore, and I don't know what to do about it."
mhm,
It was interesting, Nikki. We went through an exercise, which we'll do in just a moment, and she ended up being able to re-anchor, identify what her identity is, And then her whole posture changed. Her
Mm.
her voice, the way she projected, the way she even said, "I now know what value I bring." And so that's part of the essence of what the prepare path of intentionality is all about, and the transformation that takes. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I think this is an awesome example and a really, it's like the bridge, right? So it's what happens, it's describing that neuroplasticity, and we use that word neuroplasticity, and I know that most of our audience knows what that word means, but if you don't know what that means, the neuroplasticity is the ability to think in a different way, right? And how do we do that if we are in a moment of an identity crisis? An identity crisis happens. It's not because you did anything wrong. It's normal. But then what we need is that bridge, that neuroplasticity to say, okay, I'm in an identity crisis. Let me go back to this anchor that I've built for myself, this prepare, this dimension that we're talking about. Let me go back to this and anchor myself in my own spiritual operating system, or my own social operating system, or my own self operating system, whatever it is that we have uh, running our values, right? And I'm so excited to be part of this next activity with you, because that, in fact, is that tangible thing that you and I give our clients, or you and I give ourselves when we need it. And it's the thing that we're saying, hey, folks, everyone has access to this.
Right.
Everyone has access of this anchoring into your value and knowing your value proposition. But also, since society doesn't work in a way that talks about our value proposition all the time, we need to also carve out that time to have it clear. So when we go in that identity crisis, we can come back through our anchoring, our connection to self, our values, so that we are able to keep moving forward, even with pain.
What a wonderful point. In the reactions, the numerous reactions that we all naturally have, the human reactions to excessive pressure,
Mm-hmm,
pain, anything that's overwhelming, there's that thought that I'm not prepared for this. But to your
mm-hmm.
point, it's never too late to become able.
When you said that, I know you're going to go into something, but I have to. Can I tell you a little anecdote?
Please do.
So I had this wonderful teacher working at our school, physical education teacher, and he was just the every single one of my middle school students were just so inspired by this teacher. And so I had been in some classes, and it was a hire that I was really excited about, and I asked if I could observe one of his classes. And this is what his class was like. He gave students an environment to push themselves a little bit out of their comfort zones,
Mhm.
so that they could say, this whole thing was this identity shift to become Yetis. And I was like, what is he talking about? Yetis. And he turned them from saying, not yet, to Yetis. So, for example, if it was, do you play badminton? Not yet. And then they go and learn how to play it. And it was so interesting to watch this teacher take this concept that's quite abstract, right? The concept of being able to do something, to be able to. Because how do we know if we're able to? Probably by, first of all, thinking that we can't do it, and then finding a way to do it. There really isn't any other way. And so this simple concept that, I'd been contemplating in dark cafes through my 20s, right? He just straight up taught the kiddos with physical education. And he created that space where it didn't matter what someone's movement practice was, or what their motivation was in movement, or in anything that has to do with physical education. They can move to another area of that, as long as they change their mindset to not yet, and built themselves a path. So with that, I'm going to stop interrupting.
That was golden. I love that, Nikki. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
We will experience, just as the pressure and the pain can create this sense of the shaking a sense of self. Along with it is this lack of confidence. And therefore, the place to begin on a path to plan to be your best is to take one wonderful step of intentionality. As you
Mm.
were saying at the beginning, pause and let's look at, and let's do this now. It's not complicated. It's not rocket science, but it's a major step of transformation that gets us to that point where we become Yetis. And
Let's
even
do it.
very good. So even for those of you who are watching, below in the description is a link to the free download. It's a worksheet for the 3 steps of resilience. It's a PDF. It's a fillable PDF. So once you download it, you can make multiple copies. You can type in it. You can print it out and use this as we use the 3 steps of intentionality to go through the prepare. This will be an example of the prepare path of intentionality. In effect, we've been tuning in. Nicki has just shared a story that lets us tune into how we can understand for ourselves. We know what it's like when we're dealing with something painful and the pressure is overwhelming. That shaken sense of self, that
Mm.
that sense of to there we don't know where to begin. This is the way and the place to begin. So as we tune in and understand that, we've already started to undo what pain can do, and that is hijack our focus and take a tremendous amount of energy out of us. But then let's go into the second step. Again, those 3 steps, and you don't need the worksheet to do this, but follow along to tune in, plan, and be your best. You tune in and see, as we've paused here, we're pausing and saying, we see what's going on. We're now winning back that focus and winning back our own ability to be intentional and be purposeful in this. When we step into the plan, there are 3 questions to reorient and re-anchor yourself in who you are. And Nikki, let me ask you these 3.
I would
Have
love
you?
it because I have also been I've had the pleasure to to have your resource, and I love the tool. And I also it's I think it's good to do the updates and the deep dives. So I'm going to do it from a growth mindset, fresh mindset of Nikki today. So let's go through it.
Nikki, today that's golden because you might answer these questions differently this afternoon or next week because circumstances change, or you might find you discover something new about yourself in the new situation that you're in.
And Rick,
So
that's something, and that's just one of the reasons why our partnership is so important, because you believe in this universal design. And that's what I also believe in that this has to work. If it doesn't work for everyone, it doesn't work for anyone. There's space for all of us here, right? It's not these 8 paths aren't so that your logo of Rick Cram is on everyone's paper. It's actually so that this can be implemented in the real world. And that's one of the things that has been such a wonderful partnership in working with you about this. So
um,
without
thank,
further ado,
thank you. I'm right there with you, and I'm so thankful for you. So let me ask you this question: what
please
is
do.
good about you? These are basically I am statements. What is good about you? How would you fill in the blank? I am
I
good
am
in.
cur So would you like me to say I am good, or could I just say I am and then the adjective?
I am and fill in the blank.
So I am curious. Yeah. I am humble. I am peaceful.
Yeah.
I am in integrity. Would you like a few more?
I'm going to share with you what I'm thinking. And this question, just as you were describing those, you were curious. Do you experience your curiosity when I
Yeah. Like I want to keep following it, right? Like a
ah,
thread.
yes, these are threads. These are how you're made, who you are. When you said integrity, did you experience your integrity?
Yeah. It's like, hearing the word out loud and recognizing that what that means to me is in sort of resonance. I can feel that.
In fact, you just described one of the key reasons why in each Plan to Be Your Best program, whether it's a leadership program or any kind of team that's working through this, the first thing everyone does when we enter into each of the 8 paths of intentionality is partner up with someone and speak out loud the answers to the questions.
I think it's so important. It's that somatic nature, and it's, we believe our future into being, and to believe, we spell it out. We make our language builds the thoughts, and our thoughts then build the language, but it is a real chicken and egg. It happens at the same time. So yes, I really believe in the power of, and for those that don't have the ability to say out loud, there are other ways to somatically express the meaning of a word. If voice doesn't allow for you to experience the word, but experiencing it in our body is how we know, right, that we've gone from the not Yeti to yet.
Yes, yes. If you're listening, and if you're alone, let me encourage you, let me invite you to try something. Go to a mirror and answer the question to yourself. Look yourself in the eye and just fill in the blank about how you are good. What is good about you? Say it to yourself. Take your time, breathe through it, and experience it.
And while our groups are doing that, Rick, I want to hold up a mirror to you. All right, let's pretend, while everybody's thinking of theirs too. This is your mirror. I'm your mirror. What's good about you?
I am patient. I'm kind. I am resilient. I am resilience. I am resilience. I am love. And Nicki, I'll share with you that through the daily pain, now for over 6 years, I found that loving more has been absolutely essential to navigating this.
That's the truth.
It rings true, doesn't it? No
It
fun.
sure. And I think the sound, sounds like that, attune spaces, because those are big value statements that you just brought into this space. And it's so nice to be attuned with the good that you see as an integrity with the good that I see. And that's palpable.
I just got a crystal clear explanation of why your brand is attuned.
Yeah, we're the tuning forks. And we do it with our bodies, showing up in presence and being in emergence with the moment at hand. And you and I, Rick, our friendship and how we've worked supporting people together has been able to attune spaces. That's what we do.
Yes. I will share with you, when I was going through surgeries 4, 5, and 6, it shook my world, even though I had already had 3 surgeries 15 to 20 years before. And surgery and pain was not new to me. The intensity, the extraordinary amount of pain was, I have no words, but I did become aware of a few things that made me put my own focus on my sense of identity, my sense of self, and what I was experiencing. I wanted to strengthen my sense of going through this. The management counselor that I was meeting with monthly actually pointed out something that really sparked my need or realization that I need to focus on this. And she said, "You realize that you refer to your need, you say the need, as if it's
interesting."
Yeah, very interesting. So I was listening to my words. I was listening to what I'm thinking. There was one particular time when I picked up on words where I could tell they were not serving me well. I was thinking that one of my I am statements at a subconscious level was, I am someone in pain. And so I immediately started to just as you were describing earlier, both of them, and took some risks. But I realized then in my late 30s how going through a pain that the important to be intentional, so purposeful, and there's so much goodness that comes from it.
Yeah, it's like the pain is almost the place where that holds the possibility a lot of times. And the mud and lotus, or any, we all come from the messy, the painful, and then we clarify our intentions and things get a little bit more easeful.
Yes, so true, so true.
And
Are
I
you ready?
love this so much about just creating that steadiness for ourselves creates the steadiness for our community too. And just that need to be able to go back to the sovereign anchor, right? Not because we don't need anyone's help and community is not important. No, because community is important. And so the more we take care of our sovereignty in our own emotional experiences and how we are able to engage with ourselves, the better we're going to be able to show up for others. And it's so clear.
There's that multiplication. There's
Yeah.
that multiplier effect. So true.
Mhm.
Are you ready for the second question?
I'm ready.
What is true about you?
Mhm. I am learning. I am evolving. I am reflecting. I am applying.
Oh, by applying, you're acting on it.
Yeah, I wanted to say I am integrating, but then my mind was just like, integrating is like almost like it's a process that then I would explain. I would want to have language for the integration process, and I wouldn't say that that's where my mind went, but it's not clear 100% what that integration process is. I don't always know that integration process is, but I am trying. What's true about me is that I apply what I'm learning.
That's resilience.
Hmm.
That's the bridge to the third step in the three steps of resilience. Be your best. Just as pain happens in the moment, resilience happens in the moment, and we can only
So
be our
true. So true.
we can only be our best when it's in action, when it's in the moment.
You know what's so weird too is that I will 100% agree with you. And I was just thinking of it happens in the moment. And I was just thinking of it. It also happens usually right after something just incredibly painful and what I would consider potentially like in the moment a mistake. And then then in like a split second, it's like, choose resilience, Nicki, come on, you can do this. You can do this. But immediately 1 second before I was like, oh girl, you can, look, you failed again. And then it's like, oh, that's the trigger. Okay. I can do this. I can. And then it just starts to happen with a lot of ease, but it's so caught up in the same that when I start to listen more to that resilience, that I can do this, and that gets louder. Oh, it's so nice. It's so nice. But it comes also with the I can't do this. It's really hard to unpair them.
Oh, there's so much wisdom. There's so much goodness in that. That is real. That is
Mm,
what is so true, so true. And in effect, just as we can be triggered by the excessive pressure or the blasts of pain or the constant pain, we have the ability, and this is why one of the reasons why I'm excited for anyone who actually comes to say, I would like to learn about Plan to Be Your Best, is because I will see a transformation from someone going from being triggered, but also having the ability to strengthen that muscle of resilience to respond and be intentional and show what it likes for them to be in their own unique way, be their
Mhm.
best.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the coming full circle, right, with that identity crisis. Because if we can actually say, "Oh, okay, I totally didn't think I could do it, but then I actually realized my value, and then I actually realized I could do my best." Oh, okay, that builds back up the confidence I need in myself, right? That builds it back up. And I guess specifically speaking, the confidence I'm referring to is that identity. Because to me, the byproduct of identity is confidence and well-being and being able to live my life, right? So when I'm in an identity crisis, actually coming full circle and being like, this is my best.
Yeah. Right.
That's that bridge. That's that road of neuroplasticity.
Exactly. It is a road. It's a journey. It's imperfect.
Yes.
Let me take a moment to just see if anyone has shared a particular thought. And we're here to, and very curious to know what is good about you, what is true about you. Share thoughts, and let us encourage you. That's why we're here.
I don't know, Rick, if I'm reminded of a Rumi poem, and I'm gonna just kind of butcher it a little bit, and then I'll actually look up the poem. But one of the things that we've talked about when we've worked together, specifically around this path, right? The ability to anchor ourselves, and we like to use the sea metaphors, right? But anchor ourselves before the storm appears. And so it's like this sort of mental health preventative medicine is sort of what I see, that one of the ways to have that prevention is to really get solid on our values and what is true about us and what we and I love how simple the questions are. What is true? And what do you know? What is it? What is true and what do you know? Or what are you?
It's what is good,
What
what
is
is
good?
true,
What is good? What is true? Right.
and
So
then yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, and then with that, there's language that comes up, right? Because I could say all the things that I think are good about you.
Yeah.
And I could say it's an easy thing for me to do and what's true about you, but it is more challenging for me to do it to myself.
So true. That's so true. I must admit, as you were sharing your answers, I'm thinking, what am I going to say at this moment? What's true about me? And
Yeah, and it brings it up, but it anchors you. And I see you, Rick. And the anchoringness is the Rumi said the ocean is the emotion. And the words are the shore, right? He said it in more brilliant words, and I'll look it up. But if you think about that, right, like all of how we feel and what you just experienced in your body, right? I just saw that pain. That's the ocean. That's the world we swim in, right? That's our life. That's the flow. And when we create language to what we experience, we also create structure, right? We create this thing to anchor on. Language is the shore that we can anchor on and sort of rest on when we use our language to describe what's actually happening. And there is that refuge in putting language to our experiences.
right, and that the language, each person's own unique experience with pain becomes evident with their own unique language of their pain experience, their own unique resilience translates into their own unique language of resilience.
I agree. And I just looked up the Rumi quote, which is hilarious kind of because this is my apparently I this is my interpretation that I gave to you, but I think it still holds true. His quote says, "The heart is sea, language is shore. Whatever sea includes will hit the shore."
Uh,
Way more eloquent. but I think it kind of has the same idea.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Would you read that one more time? I want to
I
soak that
sure
in.
will. So this metaphor suggests, right, that our inner profound feelings, the sea, inevitably express themselves through our words, the shore. So heart is sea, language is shore. Whatever sea includes will hit the shore.
Yeah. Wow. You have
It's
me
the
thinking,
essence of
you know,
prepare.
it is the essence. It is all about identity. It is all about what's true. It is about um, something that actually brings up the third question, and we'll toss it around a bit. But I want to share with you what's true about me, because you've got me thinking about it in a different way now. The third question, what about you, is unchangeable. And the reason I think about that is because what is unchangeable is how the sea hits the shore. That's
Always.
a constant. It always,
If there's a sea, there's a shore.
yeah, yes. And actually, it reminds me of a similar play on words. What we're talking about is wherefore. If
Mm,
your identity is the wherefore, okay?
yeah.
Good about you, what's true about you. In a moment, we'll look at
Yeah.
what's unchangeable about you. And wherever there's a wherefore, there is a therefore. Because we,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that, perhaps that's a new way of describing the true essence of the prepare
Yeah,
path
that
of,
gives you a container to be in this. Yeah.
because of
Gives
all
you
that's
shore.
exactly, exactly. Because of all that's true about you, all that's good and all that's unchangeable is going to be the foundation for what emerges, what you experience, all the wisdoms, the courage, the strengthening of your resilience through the other seven paths of intentionality. Yeah.
I love that, Rick. And I think, can I answer the third question?
Please do.
I think the what's unchangeable and what's unchangeable with me is the willingness and the choice to continue to tether to, to tether to what's true about me is the commitment to my own self growth, my
Ah,
own learning, the commitment to my ability to do this. That's what's unchanging, is the commitment to iterate, to start again over and over, because I know every single time I can come back to myself when I forget myself.
yes.
So
Yes.
it's that commitment to, even when I've forgotten myself in a moment where I'm very convinced that everything is terrible and terrible and terrible and terrible, even in that moment, to be committed to finding the descriptions of myself, right? The language, my shore of my identity. That's what I'm committed to.
That is a beautiful statement about the strength of your resilience and the confidence that you bring, even to when you might feel overwhelmed. You're bringing a confidence in there that you can, even though it might feel elusive in the toughest of moments, it's in you.
And I think that is, the reason why we have community, right? Because there's been moments too when I've looked at you, Rick, and I've just said, I don't have it. And you say, okay, let me tell you what I see. And then all of a sudden I can see it again. And so it's
Yes.
not, I don't think this is okay. Always be able to do this by yourself. But if you can't find your identity and you don't see it, we're here to help. And there is a
Yes.
way to get back, right? And there's a way that we can shine that mirror, just like you asked us to do, to be able to get back to the reason why.
Something common when the companies come and ask for a plan to be your best program,
Mhm.
whether it's half a day, full day, or 2 day program, it's one thing that's common is when they say, in one case, we haven't done anything like this. We haven't even been together as a group in years. And then as soon as they start experiencing through the prepare path of intentionality, pairing up and having one-on-one conversations, the community experience begins. Then we have a full room conversation, full group conversation, and keep doing that back and forth through each of the 8 paths of intentionality. So they keep creating more and more community experiences. And why we often hear people say, as one particular executive described after this program where they hadn't been together for 5 or 6 years, that you've galvanized. It wasn't me galvanizing, it was themselves experiencing community and increasing that sense of that bond more than teamwork. They, as he put it, we were galvanized.
Well, I mean, and the beautiful thing about galvanizing with self is even when you lose the vision of self, you can regalvanize that with a tool and a structure that you build within your own systems.
Right, right.
And that's what's so beautiful about this work too, is that when we help people find the resources within themselves and activate those, then their ability to model that in the world, in their teams, in their families, like you said, is exponentially impacted. And so the investment is real in time and energy and intentionality, and also the returns are high and immediate.
They are immediate because they start experiencing it right away.
Yeah, yeah.
Question for you.
Please.
I'm thinking about that example you shared earlier about that class.
Language acquisition. Mm-hmm.
Class of Yetis. What else might a group experience, what else might the group do within the Plan to Be Your Best framework and create community?
You know, I think what I've seen in practical experiences through mergers and acquisitions with different teams, right, where it's like there's so many different things that we can or can't do and that are defined by different people of what we can or can't do. So when we combine and actually focus on the real fact that we can do what we set our mind to, but we need to understand what we've limited it around also, you know, and that shift, we take folks from the I can't to not yet to becoming a Yeti, right? And so I think it's that scaffolding that in my, you know, with my expertise, it's designing that, whether it be the piece of curriculum or the activity or whatever it is, to unlock that understanding in the brains that I'm working with. And we do that collectively by, it's very simple, by shifting the mindset, whether it be about learning a new language, whether it be about creating a new community impact report or building a student council. This is how it's all done.
And that's brilliant. What you're describing is finding ways of creating shared experiences.
By observing the shared experiences that are already there and looking at them as a point of possibility versus looking at them at all the ways that it can't be.
Yes, yes, yes. You got me thinking. This is a dangerous
thing.
Right?
Oh, it's the perfect thing. It's the perfect thing. I love this step so much. Prepare is, oh gosh, it's something that I don't do well, Rick. Like I would give myself a really low score on this. And it attracts me so much because I'm motivated to just kind of get intentional. And so this is exactly what I needed to hear today around the essence of prepare.
Allow me to say, and I don't often do this, I rarely do this. When you say you don't do it very well, I actually believe, and I see in you someone who does it exceptionally well. There's no perfection in this.
It's true.
And we are so hard on ourselves. But one of the reasons why you and I have connected as we have, why we're working together, is because of our shared interest in your ability to find ways of encouraging and facilitating people to find their agency.
Yes.
You model that. You model that.
Thank you. I think there's the connection that we have of working in different industries, but also working with the big outcome that we've had is that through communication with ourselves and within our organizations, that's how we meet objectives. And it sounds really simple, and it's not. We know it's not, but it actually can be if we focus our intention on what we can do instead of what we can't do. Because there's so many things that we can't do. And my goodness, the things we can do are astounding.
One of the greatest challenges and one of the greatest needs in strategic communications is to find ways of, with clarity, using as few words as possible to get a point across, and do so in a way that's compelling
Hmm.
and that creates a positive emotional response. And in effect, strategically, that's what has gone into the building and the designing of the Plan to Be Your Best framework. It makes it all the more, it creates the clarity. It's very strategic, but it makes it all the more doable.
Yeah, and it just doesn't feel I don't feel desperately alone when I'm in a situation of intense pain. And mine is more on the emotional side right now in this, phase of life. But there was also, post my double mastectomy, there was some pain, man, that really, 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 I feel equipped now to be able to face other situations of I hope to not have that. But like this is pain management that addresses disturbances in the systems. Whatever is a disturbance,
Yeah.
whatever is interpreted as pain can be held in this framework. And we don't have to be in this alone.
Right, right. You're a living example of being uniquely qualified to take
I see
plan to
you,
be your
Rick.
thank you very much. I'm using the 3 steps of resilience and reminding myself that pain happens in the moment, but so does resilience, and so does my focus. I win it back easily because I can keep my focus on you. And to make this point, you are uniquely qualified to multiply, plan to be your best. That's what we're doing, basically. That's we're doing it for ourselves, but we're doing it for others.
And there's always pieces after these conversations that one, get me excited about our next conversation, and two, just give me nutrients to regenerate some of the energy that's just expended in being a person that deals with pain and being a person that's around pain. So I appreciate the energy filling the cup. And I know that our next studio won't be, well, actually, what is the topic of our next studio, and what is something that I could be looking out for this month or these next few weeks to sort of be ready for our next path?
The next path, just as there's energy that comes out of the prepare path of intentionality, there's a unique kind of energy that comes out of the second one, listen.
Mm.
And why don't we both, the next time we're together in just a matter of weeks on another Plan to Be Your Best live, let's both elevate our being active listeners for ourselves and for others. One element of active listening is to reflect back what we've heard. Another is to be listening so carefully, so intently, that we're being aware of what's not being said. So, in a way, when we apply active listening to ourselves, let's think about and reflect back to ourselves what we're saying in that internal monologue. With others, let's be active listeners to the point where before thinking of how we're going to respond to what someone says, reflect back to them what you just heard. I'm going to do the same.
That's thank you. I really appreciate that nugget of clear thing that I can do, and this is a skill that I definitely want to improve on, and that I just every time that I'm reminded, learn new ways of practicing patience.
It is, we're all a work in progress. A lot of people, especially people who I know are superb listeners, come after the Plan to Be Your Best program and say, you've reminded me to elevate and continue practicing, because there's always room for improvement. There's room for inviting ourselves to be the best listener that we can over and over again.
Yeah, once we elevate our listening, we can hear things in a different way and hear our people in a different way too. So
Exactly.
thank you, Rick. I appreciate spending time with you and our community. And please feel free to reach out to us with any sort of questions, concerns, or feedback. And if there's anything specifically that we can address in our next Plan to Be Your Best Life.
Thank you, Nicki, and thank all of you. We're here for you, and we're here to remind you that your best is greater than the pain. Take good care. Thanks, Nicki.
Bye.